Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_Access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay here. It is officially mock draft season. Really excited to do our first mock draft of the year. It's going to be a 4-round mock draft. Obviously, the Packers will have 3 picks. We'll have pick 52, pick 84, and pick 120, a second, third, and a fourth-round pick. We're going to kind of key in on some needs. Understand when we do these mock drafts moving forward and today as well, it's about trying to understand how does the board fall. It's about trying to understand where's the depth in the draft. It's about trying to understand how can you fill these needs. Although we know if we were in the draft room, if this was a true NFL draft, you wouldn't just be reaching for needs constantly, right? But we're going to kind of set the board by need. And listen, you may disagree on what the top needs are for the Packers. What we've got it set at today is we're saying center/offensive line. I think we would all agree the offensive line needs a good bolstering. Now, we want to see them go in free agency. So keep in mind, we may take an offensive line, we may take a center with the first pick, but if Tyler Linderbaum is on the market and Baltimore don't re-sign him and the Packers are interested, obviously that would be our top choice, right? So we're just going in assuming no free agents as of right now, but we'll probably have a little conversation about it along the way as well. So center/offensive line, cornerback, and defensive tackle. Now people are going, why do we need a defensive tackle? We got Devontae Wyatt. Where was he at down the stretch, guys? You know, you're one injury away from being screwed at arguably the most important position on defense. Feel a little bit better about the edge room, but with defensive tackle, I kind of feel like that's a need as well. Now, you may think another need, like you may think running back. I know me and Tim have talked about that. We don't know what's going to happen with Marshawn Lloyd. You may think running back's a big need, right? You may think, that linebacker, a stack backer, like if Quay doesn't return, man, we need a stud next to Edgerrin Cooper. I can understand that too. But again, what it's all about here is just trying to fill some of the immediate needs and getting a good lay of the land, if that makes sense. So before we get into it, if you guys would, let's do that YouTube stuff. Hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your afternoon. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We are fans just like you talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, if you're looking for mock drafts, you're looking for draft coverage, free agency, the whole 9 yards, and you're wanting something to tune into on a daily basis, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so that you don't miss out on those live streams. Tim, you ready to do a quick mock draft, big dog?
You know I am. Happy Shrine Bowl Eve, brother. You know, Shrine Bowl is here tomorrow. Let's dip our toes in here and get our feet wet a little bit and start to break this down.
I love this time of year because you learn so much about prospects you didn't know about. Like we had a guy that was not on our draft board. He was missing 1 or 2 key components to be on our draft board from South Carolina State. I actually tweeted it out earlier. He is the fastest recorded player, I think, at 21.3 miles per hour at the East-West Shrine Bowl. So we added him to the draft board. Lo and behold, he kicked up somewhere in like the 140 mark, I believe, something like that. So it's a fun time of year. I utilize it for that, Tim. It's not about let me sit down and watch a great football game. It's about what are the practice updates through the week, who really shined, who didn't, and then also some of these players that we otherwise wouldn't have known about, So it's a lot of fun. All right, let's waste no time, man. Let's get into it. Our first mock draft. Now, guys, we're using PFF. Understand the grades may show Fs across the board. It's because PFF disagrees with the picks we take and vice versa. We may take a guy that had a high PFF grade, and PFF says that's an awesome pick. But in real life, he may end up being cheeks, right? So, again, this is just one of many platforms. We'll bounce around. We'll use the mock draft database one on down the road. We'll probably use the draft network and others. So this is the PFF one. Again, we're going 4 rounds, and we're going turbo speed so we can get through it quick. And let's start it off, Tim. Let's get going here, man. So the first pick, we are on the board here with pick 52. Again, we're going to set the needs, like we said. Interior offensive line. We're going to include offensive tackle because we know the Packers love kicking those guys inside, right? Whether we agree with it or not, we know that's on the table. We'll set cornerback and we'll set defensive line as well or defensive tackle. So one thing that I like to look at here, guys, is who are the top prospects on the board when you're picking, okay? At the top of the list of those positions of need, Keontae Scott, cornerback out of Miami, D'Angelo Pons, cornerback out of Indiana. Tim, this is one of my favorite prospects. Unfortunately, he's extremely short, and we know as soon as we draft him, and we may draft him, I don't know, but as soon as you draft him, the mock draft experts come out of the woodwork. They're like, Goody would never do that. He's too short. So we got to be prepared for that, and I'm going to try to ignore it this year as it's already started on X, to be honest with you. So D'Angelo Pons, a stud. Dante Corleone,
hey, forget about it.
I think I heard he was the best guy around, Tim. I don't know if you ever heard that or not either.
I've heard that a time or two, but then I watched a little tape, and I'm not
not as impressed. Dante Corleone, defensive lineman out of Cincinnati. Connor Lew, center out of Auburn. And then Dominic Orange, a.k.a. Big Citrus. I know Chris N's in the chat. He's going to love that one there. Defensive lineman out of Iowa State. So they're obviously ranked in the order of the PFF draft board. Tim, is there anybody here that grabs your attention before I start running down some numbers on our draft board here, man?
I'm with you on Pons for sure. Especially we just had the discussion about obviously corner is a need that we have. And like you said, when you see where you're picking and, who's really stacking up on the board, who's available, you got a couple of corners, you got a couple of D linemen, you got a center up there. So I would say D'Angelo Pons stands out despite the shortness factor, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah. And Keontae Scott is in the 44 spot on our PTA big board. D'Angelo Pons, 29th. Yeah. So D'Angelo Pons pops. Now, why is he so high on our board? PFF grade in 2023, he was the 12th best corner. 24, he's fell to the 28th best corner, still a solid grade. Last year, 6th best corner in all of college football. The big board, PFF big board, had him at 58. The consensus big board had him at 62, so he lands with a 33.2 grade for us. If we were taking a corner, I would throw the hot to the side and say, that's my guy here. However, you see down here on this list, you've got Connor Lew, right? Obviously a center. We know that's a position of need. Connor Lew is interesting because we've got him in the 55 spot. We've got Jake Slaughter in the 36 spot, actually the 34 spot. There's a couple placeholders there because of our boy Rusty Undercarriage, but that's a topic for another day. So if we were to look here and we were to go off of our PTA big board, and again, the grades are going to show really, really bad because we don't necessarily completely agree with PFF, although PFF's baked into our big board. For me, Tim, with Jake Slaughter being 34th and D'Angelo Pons being 29th, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So these are the decisions you're faced with, right? If you go with Pons, he's the better player per se, but center is a position of tier 2 importance. So here's the perfect scenario of, let's say you had a time machine and you could go, and this is how the draft fell, and then you could go back in free agency and go, boy, if we could get someone like D'Angelo Pons, and again, I know he's undersized. I know people are going to say that. It's okay. We're just doing a mock draft. Imagine if you could get D'Angelo Pons after you got Tyler Lindenberg in the or Linderbaum, I'm sorry, at the center position in free agency. Boy, you would really be feeling good going, we got one of the best corners in the draft, a steal there at that pick at 52, and you also got the best center in free agency. I would feel great about filling two of those top needs right off the bat.
I agree. Unfortunately, we don't have perfect hindsight when you're trying to put this together, right? Put yourself in the GM's shoes. Everything's coming out right now. There's no guarantees in free agency. There's no guarantees in the draft. So you got to kind of go with your positions and needs and your gut. But I 100% agree with you. I think we're going corner or center here with this pick, regardless of who it might be.
And the other problem here, Tim, is if you don't go center right here, who's going to be available when you pick at 84, right? So if we were to go on down the line here and just look for center, there's Jake Slaughter. He's probably going to be gone at 84. Now, again, they're showing him significantly lower than where we have him. We have him as the best center in the draft. If we have time, we're going to do a prospect profile, a scouting report on him at the end of this show, just to show why we like him so much.
Yep. And Connor Lew will be gone as well, if we don't take him here.
Absolutely. So it's tough, man. Position of importance, does that jump in my whole tier? Probably not, because it's not tier 1. We're going to do it, man. We're going to go D'Angelo Pons here, and I'm going to see if one of the fan favorite centers are available later, because I know he's still available right now. Where is our boy at from Iowa? Is he that far down? No, he ain't. Surely he's not. Have we already passed him? You guys know who I'm talking about too. If you've been listening to the show, I don't see him here yet. Maybe he is a little bit further. Let me go a little bit further. There is Logan Jones.
Logan Jones.
They've got him at 168, Tim. 168, right? We've got Logan Jones. Where are you at, sir? At 70 or at the 70 mark.
So if we could get him at 84, that's pretty good.
So if you go D'Angelo Pons at 52 and then come back and get Logan Jones from Iowa at 84, and he will be available, it'll look like we could actually get him at 120, to be honest with you here, according to PFF. Now, maybe that's a bit of a stretch. Why don't we try that? Again, we do these mock drafts to kind of test the system and see, all right, where could these guys potentially fall, right? So let's go with the undersized, and we're going to get raked over the coals for him being undersized. D'Angelo Pond with our first pick here, okay? If I can find him again, where the heck did he go?
He should be higher up.
Oh, yeah, we're on the other page. So that's one thing I do not like about PFF is you got to go to the bottom of the screen. So we're going to go D'Angelo Pons with the 52nd overall pick, all right? So there you go. You are a Green Bay Packer, D'Angelo Pons. So you got your cornerback. We got 2 picks left in this 4-round mock draft. Tim, are you seeing who's on the board right now, sir? We got Jake Slaughter.
Look at that. Click the draft right now. Just click on the button.
So, again, center, obviously an important position. If you go out and get Tyler Linderbaum or one of those free agents, it wouldn't be a need, right? So I can understand, like right here, if you did go get Linderbaum, obviously it'd be hard to pass up on Jake Slaughter, but you're probably going to do it. Now, maybe as the Packers do their own mock draft research, they find out, you know what, Jake Slaughter will probably be there at 84. Maybe we don't go after Linderbaum if they like Jake Slaughter. They may like Logan Jones way better, right? We don't know. So another need that we had listed was defensive tackle. So let's reset the board. I understand we could still use another corner, guys. But for mock draft purposes, what we're going to do is keep corner off this time. So we're going to do offensive tackle, interior offensive line, and then we're going to go defensive line. Okay, so let's see what defensive linemen pop here. You got Darrell Jackson, and I'm going to do a quick search on our board just to see where we have Darrell Jackson at. We have him in the 109 spot, Tim. And then a couple of tackles here too, man, with Isaiah World and Brian Parker II. Pretty solid prospects. I think Brian Parker is one of those that's going to be great value for wherever he's taken at. Let me just put him into the system here real quick. Parker, he's 57th. Wow. But again,
Jake have Isaiah World on our board.
Yeah, I want to say we're not as high on him. Yeah, he's 127 on our board, Tim.
Okay.
So, so Isaiah World a little bit lower. You know, Jake Slaughter is still higher than obviously Brian Parker. Let me just check Skylar Gil Howard real quick to make sure he's not a stud sitting there, right? Gil Howard, he's in the 104 spot. So this is a no-brainer, Tim. We're going to go with Jake Slaughter. Do you have any pushback on that at all, man?
Zero objections with a center named Slaughter. I will take that all day. Let's go.
Absolutely. And Soder's already saying trade back. So you guys know the rule here. We try not to trade back too much because you can manipulate the heck out of the PFF database. You can do the same thing on the mock draft database as well. We could trade back and knock this thing out of the park. We're only doing 3 picks here. So that's another reason. I wanted to keep this under 20 minutes for the mock draft segment. So I'm with you, Soder. I can see how you want to trade back to go, okay, you got Jake Slaughter, you got Brian Parker. Probably would have traded back with the first pick, to be honest with you. And that would have been the time to do it. So don't necessarily disagree with you, but we're going to go ahead and stick and pick here. We're going to go Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. So we've already got 2 positions of need filled. Both of them, according to our PTA big board, were great picks. Now, PFF will probably disagree here in a minute. So now the only need that we really had left was defensive tackle, Tim. We may add something else to it in a minute. But let's see if we missed out on some studs down the stretch here, or should we just go offensive line again? So the top available are Tim Keenan, defensive lineman out of Alabama. David, is it Oak or OK maybe?
Okay.
Out of Arkansas. Carl Brevard out of Texas. DeMonte Capehart out of Clemson. And Xavier Harris out of Ole Miss, along with Zane Durant, defensive lineman out of Penn State. I'm going to check a couple of these top 2 here real quick just to see. Anything catch your attention there, or maybe anything in the chat that you want to hit while I look this up?
I'm kind of scrolling our board too, looking for some of these names.
138 for Tim Keenan. All right, so keep that number for me, Tim. 138. And then David Oakey is actually 221, way down the list. All right. And then you've got Brevard Cole Brevard is 192. Let's check two more here real quick. Capehart is 191, so he's right there in the same tier. And then Xavier Harris is 170. And then one last one here, Zane Durant, is 293 as it sits right now. So to me, this is a no-brainer, man. If we're going to go defensive tackle, it would be Tim Keenan, who is sitting in the 137 spot for us. So it'd be a little bit of a reach according to where PFF has him. So there's probably some other positions that would be a little more enticing. So if we close that out and just look at the best players available, is there anything here at a position that's not of need that we would be interested in going grab? And say, for instance, let's do this. Let's go offensive tackle, interior offensive line, because we know we need depth there as well, and defensive line, right? So DJ Campbell pops up. Obviously, he's a guard out of Texas. Let's see what DJ Campbell looks like. And
yeah, because otherwise we're back to Keenan or Oki.
118, Tim. Yeah. 118. And then Keelan Rutledge might be our guy too. So 118 for the first one. Yeah. So Keelan Rutledge is 93rd on our big board. 93rd. I see my boy Emil Wagner down there. I'm not as high on Emil Wagner other than the fact that he played for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So Keelan Rutledge, hands down, would be our pick here. I love Soder with the information here. Yeah. Skylar Gilhoward, place of birth, Milwaukee.
Milltown. Shout out to my hometown. That's probably my only allegiance to Skylar Gilhoward. He's a Milwaukee kid.
So I think this is a no-brainer, boys. We're going to go with Georgia Tech, Keelan Rutledge here, okay? Again, so we got basically 3 top 100 prospects, right? And we're this pick here, obviously a top 100 prospect at pick 120, I think will be great. Let's see what PFF says about this mock draft. As they're grading it out. Yeah, so they didn't think it was great. We got a B-, B, and a C. Now, obviously, like I said, the reason that our board is a little bit different than the PFF board. PFF's baked into our big board, obviously, right? Yep. So you've got the consensus big board that's got some stuff in there as well. So you got PFF grades, PFF big board, and you've got the consensus big board. So that's how it gets a little off track there. Man, I wish I'd checked. I'm so sorry, Bates. He said, can you check to see if Logan Jones is still there? I'd say he probably is, Bates, I would imagine, because he was ranked in the 170s. I have a hard time believing he would have went 50 picks too early. So, and again, is that realistic, right? Because people roast PFF every year going, they don't know when the picks are actually going to happen. That's why you got to kind of take that with a grain of salt there. So if he was there, we obviously wouldn't take 2 swings at center. I think we would all agree. That's why I'd like to go like Keelan Rutledge, someone who could potentially play guard. So imagine this scenario right here. Yeah, appreciate you though, Bates. I know what you're thinking there too, man. I'm 99% sure he was there. So that's good information to have, right? So you could potentially wait until the 4th round to go get Logan Jones if PFF has the projections right. So now, Tim, imagine this. If you did not go out and get Tyler Linderbaum, what you're going to end up having happen is Jake Slaughter will probably be your starting center. You're starting a rookie center. Oh, no, we went young again, right? So now the question becomes, do you make an offer or a restructure to Elton Jenkins and kick him back to left guard, move on from Aaron Banks? Do you keep Aaron Banks and move on from Elton Jenkins and free up $20 million? These are all the questions we've got to answer, right?
Yep. And we talked about that a couple of shows back too. You know, the idea of, maybe you do keep Big E around and move him back to what I think is more of a natural spot for him, which is left guard. So a lot of decisions to make, but I'm not entirely opposed to the idea of getting a true center in here in the draft, throwing him into the fire, letting him work through OTAs, camp, and just be that guy moving forward and build around him, get him working with Jordan and, build that chemistry and see how he does. Otherwise, yeah, we better hit something in free agency. Right. Maybe you do want to go a little bit more experienced at center and free up, other opportunities to maybe pick up somebody else in the draft. So a lot of choices.
Yeah. So, and when you look at it, we keep talking about how young this roster is, In this scenario, let's say you move on from Elton Jenkins, you move on from Aaron Banks, both. You do a post-June 1 cut with Aaron Banks, you free up, I can't remember what it is, like $15 or $18 million, somewhere around there with the post-June. Now, you got to carry that cap until that date, obviously. But now, all of a sudden, you've got a rookie center and potentially a rookie left guard, right? That's not ideal. So it's why we do these exercises. is because you want to look up at the end of the day and go, okay, how do we fall within the parameters that we kind of set for ourselves? And all right, we want this roster to get a little bit older, a little more veteran, right? But we're also looking at the cap hit that comes attached to Aaron Banks and Elgton Jenkins, which I think we would all agree is way, way too inflated. So you're kind of stuck in a catch-22 there. It tells me you need to be aggressive in free agency to go get another offensive lineman and try to hit on, right? And maybe they're banking on Aaron Banks being great in year 2 with the system. I don't know. I don't like that idea, to be honest with you. And I see people, like we said, they would come in here out of the woodworks. D'Angelo Pons is undersized. We know he's undersized. We're just going off the board. And, we had to hear the same thing about Brian Branch too. Then Brian Branch comes to the league and he's a hell of a player. And all of a sudden the people that said he was too small, they're not saying anything, right?
Yep.
But I will say this. Goody's got a type, and that's another flaw that I think Goody has, is he sticks sometimes too much to the prototype, although I feel like last year he got away from it a little bit than he normally does, but nonetheless, it still can be a problem for sure. So with that being said, if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know what you think of the first mock draft of the season. How did you feel about the picks? Again, with the 52nd pick, we went cornerback out of your national champion Indiana Hoosiers, D'Angelo Pons. With number 84, we went center out of the SEC, University of Florida, Jake Slaughter. And then at pick 120 there in the 4th round, we went guard, Georgia Tech, Keelan Rutledge. Let us know what you think about those picks in the comments. Who would you rather have? Maybe you got a corner you like better. Maybe you got a center you like better. Maybe you got a guard you like better. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you know when we go live in the future. All right, Tim, I got one more segment I want to hit on here real quick. I want to do our first prospect report, our scouting report, if you will. You guys, if you're in the Patreon group, you've already got access to these over there. I don't even know how many we put up, but I've been firing them out in rapid fashion, just doing quick little blurbs. You guys, again, you can find that at patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. And we just took Jake Slaughter, right? So why don't we take a look at his scouting report? And you guys tell me how you would feel about Jake Slaughter. Again, this is kind of a very surface level, I think you would say, scouting report. It also is going to give you an injury history at the end as well, which I think is very, very important to understand exactly how durable these players have stayed. All right, so let's dive into it. Scouting report, Jake Slaughter, center out of Florida. So center/interior offensive lineman. Some people project that he can play guard. Let's just stick to center for a second, okay? And just think of, all right, can he start for the Packers at center? Would that be the right answer, right? His height's been reported somewhere between 6'4" and 6'5", 305 pounds. He will be at the Senior Bowl. He was a captain as well. Those are important things, obviously, to the Packers when we narrow down some of the top potential picks for Green Bay. So biographical overview, a native of Spar, Florida, and a former standout at Trinity Catholic High School, Slaughter has developed into the anchor of the Gators offensive line. Originally a Florida State commit, he flipped to Florida and has since become an All-American caliber leader for the program. All right, here's his physical profile and athleticism frame. Prototypical height for an interior offensive lineman or interior lineman in general, with good overall size and room for functional strength. Movement. He displays solid mobility for his size. He's effective as a puller and capable of reaching targets in space, though he is described more as, quote, coordinated than explosively fast. All right, so a guy that moves pretty well, can pull if you want to pull the guard or center, whichever position he would play at. Strength. He possesses natural road grading power in the run game. I repeat, he possesses natural road grading power in the run game. He consistently flattens defenders at the point of attack and maintains a strong leg drive to move targets downfield. Tim, I don't know about you, man, but that right there sounds pretty darn good to me. You got somebody that can help in the run game, man, and get some big bodies off the line of scrimmage, dude.
I think that's been our biggest gripe with this O-line, right? You know, pass pro has been all right. I think it's been sufficient for the most part, but man, if we can put some good run blocking in front of Josh Jacobs and our backs, we've got a chance to kind of transform things offensively. So I would agree.
Absolutely. Soder in the chat said, tell me that Slaughter wrestled in high school. I don't know. Maybe it'll mention it here in a second. But, Tim, if you'll make a note off to the side, we'll look that up. We'll do an extensive AI search to see if we can find whether he had a wrestling background or not. Because, again, you guys will notice on our PTA big board, that's important. Any player, no matter what position, if they had a wrestling background, you'll see a little wrestling emoji on there. So you'll know, okay, wrestling background as well. Johnny B in the chat said Keelan Rutledge is a mauler. Obviously, one of the guys we just drafted, right? So, boy, could you imagine Jake Slaughter at center, Keelan Rutledge at left guard potentially, right? Whether they start the first year or not, you're kind of setting the stage to get that mauler mentality running a rock for sure. So, technical skills. Let's see how he is in pass protection. Pass protection, highly efficient in pass pro. In 2025, he was ranked as one of the top pass blocking centers in the nation by PFF, allowing only 1 sack over 748 offensive snaps. He utilizes an effective punch and a promising kick slide. Run blocking, a physical presence who plays with a high motor. He is skilled at combo blocking and peeling off to engage second-level defenders, i.e., duo, right?
Yep.
Linebackers.
And he's got the high motor. We got to put the high motor emoji up there for him too, right?
We need
Madden style high motor.
Need a horse or something up there, don't we? Right? with disciplined footwork. So disciplined footwork, and again, man, being able to peel off, whether it's a pin and pull or a duo run, sounds like he would fit what we're trying to do there with Josh Jacobs for sure. Versatility, while he has solidified himself as a premier center, he has the frame and experience to slide to guard if needed. Tim, well, how about that?
Sound familiar?
Yeah. How about that being your backup center? What if you went and got Tyler Linderbaum, and then this guy, Jake Slaughter, was playing starting left guard, and then God forbid something happened to Linderbaum, Jake Slaughter can kick right over to center. That would be pretty cool. That'd be awesome. So something to think about. Let's talk intangibles for a second. Leadership, a team captain who is credited with being the, quote, glue of the offensive line. His decision to return for the 25-26 season was a major factor in maintaining the unit's continuity. Reliability, plays to the final whistle, and has shown remarkable consistency, starting over 25 consecutive games for the Florida Gators. So you're talking about availability, accountability, right? Leadership, accountability, reliability, availability, the two most important.
Like durability in there too.
Yes, sir. 2026 NFL draft projection. Where's he projected to go? Now, keep in mind, PFF, we just took him in the – where did we take him? Second round, right, Tim?
Yep.
So we took him at pick 74. So draft buzz. Currently projected as a potential day 2 pick, second to third round. So that seems to be pretty accurate as it sits right now, with some analysts noting he has the talent to push into the late first round, depending on team needs for a high floor interior starter. So we're going to keep an eye on his stock and see if it raises after the Senior Bowl, during Senior Bowl practice and all that. That's a guy that might end up jumping into the first round. You never know. Key accolades, 2024 first team All-American. He's a 2-time first team All-SEC in 24 and 25, and PFF had him as a top 10 rated center in 2025. And when you look at our PTA big board here, Tim, we've got him, I think we had him 35th overall, if I remember correctly. And the placeholders are a little bit wonky, but somewhere between 33 and 35. So there he is. He's already got the captain emoji. We'll add some of the other emojis in as we get that added in. And you guys have access to this board, again, over at patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. So his 23 PFF grade, he was the 9th highest graded center. 24, he was the 6th highest graded center. 25, the 8th highest graded center. Tim, that's as consistent as it comes, dude. PFF big board had him at 78. That's why he was available. So if you're going, okay, maybe PFF's too low on him, right? The consensus big board actually has him at 93. So there's again, some people think he could create momentum and climb into the late first round, early second. Others think he may fall into the third, right? So it's going to be really, really interesting. Again, his grade is a 38.8. Low number wins on our grading scale, guys. So when you see that 38.8, look at it this way. He's worthy of the 38th pick is kind of how our board is seeing it. It doesn't mean that he's the 38th best prospect, because I think he was actually higher than that on our board, okay? However, that's just a good just kind of common theme. When you look at that final grade on the right, you can go, okay. So if you see someone like and we don't have everybody on here, but let's say like Joshua Josephs, edge defender from Tennessee. When you're thinking, will he be available for us? Would that be a good value pick? Well, you think about where you're picking. If we're picking 54th, that would be a great value pick there. At 74th, not so much, right? So that's kind of a good rule of thumb to use there. So what's your final take here on Jake Slaughter, Tim, and any other players that you see here before we wrap up?
Well, when it comes to Jake Slaughter, I'm not going to say any more nice things about him, because I'm hoping he falls, doesn't rise in the draft board, and maybe we can pick him up. I mean, it's still kind of early-ish, right? A lot of movement can happen. This board's going to be updated multiple times and on the way to our horizontal board, which is always my favorite time of the year when we build that horizontal board. But yeah, I think you can't go wrong with a guy like Slaughter. I mean, he certainly looks like he has the measurables. He fits the mold. So I'm hoping that he does in fact fall, not rise, for sure.
Yeah. And it's going to be close, man. We'll see. We'll see how everything shakes out. And the thing that makes me nervous, Tim, I almost want to say it every year when we get to this point is, yeah, if they don't tweak something, if they don't get hurt in the Senior Bowl, if they don't get hurt in the Combine, and I prevent myself from saying, because I'm like, God, that's just horrible to think that these guys have worked their ass off to get to the point where they're at. And then the final stage of, all right, we're about to enter the league. And boy, is it a cold-hearted business, man, because it'll just be toss them to the side, drop them down the board. Maybe we'll take a flyer on them in the 7th round or something.
We see that with the Combine too, right? We get guys that they'd rather not risk it. And then you get guys that do, and, you pull a quad or something on your 40, and next thing you know, you're falling down the draft board. It's like you said, man, crazy business.
Yeah, it really is, man. So again, Jake Slaughter, that's the scouting report on him. If there's anything we got wrong, if there's anything that you guys have to comment on Jake Slaughter, let us know in the YouTube comments if you watch this video back later. We want to hear from you. What would you think about Jake Slaughter being a Green Bay Packer? Is that maybe you go Philadelphia's route when they had Jason Kelce and he was still the starting center, and he picked Juergens for him, helped them with the scouting process, and that's your center of the future. And then they played beside each other. And then when Jason retired, right, all of a sudden he popped in there at center. Maybe you go that route with a Tyler Linderbaum and know that 4, 5, 6 years down the road, Jake Slaughter could be the center of the future when you move on from Linderbaum, right? Again, we don't know if Linderbaum is going to be available, but that's the beautiful thing about the offseason, man. Time will tell, and we'll be here every step of the way. So let us know in the comments, what do you think about Jake Slaughter, his build, everything about that scouting report? Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified whenever we go live in the future. Tim, is there anything else you want to hit before we wrap up, man?
No, just happy to be here and have fun doing our first mock. We got the first one under our belt. I'm sure we'll do another 200 or 300 of them before it's all said and done, right, Clay?
All right. So let's hit a couple comments before we wrap up here. Soder in the chat. So Myers was tall at 6'5" for what the Packers traditionally liked at center. Slaughter is of similar build. Does that give you any pause? It doesn't give me pause because I want to say Creed Humphrey. I could be wrong. I think there's other examples, Soder, of tall centers, that's worked out. I know what you mean. Like when I was growing up watching football, man, it was rare that you get one that was 6'2". They were short, obviously stocky. Let me see where Creed Humphrey's height is reported here. I just want to see, because maybe that's so he's 6'4", right? So he's just 1 inch shorter than Myers. But I mean, we know how much that can come into effect there with the draft process as well. So I think you make a good point, Soder. Maybe it's something to monitor, right? Kind of a similar build. But at the same time, and if you can block, you can block.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if Slaughter is a mauler and has a good run blocking grade, we all have, nightmares of Josh Myers blocking ghosts out there. So I think it might be worth the risk, but certainly something to definitely keep an eye on, though, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So also in the chat here, the Freedom House says, but if there is a good defensive tackle there at 2, talking about the 2nd round, I guess, I'm good with it. See, the same thing here. Like, it's such an important position. If you got a stud that falls to you, like, for instance, shout out to Coach Zay here. On X. He says, take it from me as a Georgia fan, that kid, Kristen Miller, is a jackpot waiting to happen. He's one of my favorite prospects, Coach. That's a dude that I absolutely like. Man, if he could somehow, some way fall that far, I just don't see it happening. We've actually got him
25th on our board, I think, right?
Yeah, and when you remove the placeholders, he's actually 23rd. Now, the consensus big board has him at 33, and PFF Big's board has him at 30. So I just don't see him falling to us in the 50s. You know what I mean? That's the tough part. Now, would you trade up for a 3 tech, right? I mean,
if that's your guy, if you're convinced that's your guy, yeah.
Right, yeah, it's hard to go against that. Now, Mike Z says, to me, is 3 tech priority, question mark. See, that's the other thing. It's like, he's not going to start at 3 tech over Devontae Wyatt, right? You're paying him $12 million on a 5th-year option. However, I still am not sold that Devontae Wyatt is our dominant 3 tech of the future. He may be on the roster, but you got to continue to look. However, what was the biggest need down the stretch? It was definitely O-line. So Yeah, I feel really good about the way that mock draft went just now, to be honest with you. I feel really good about it, other than the fact that Pons is obviously an undersized corner. So, but I wouldn't consider it a priority one, Mike, to answer your question. But it's such an important position. It's hard to pass up on if when you get to 54, let's say you've got the best center in the draft, whether someone thinks that's Jake Slaughter or Logan Jones or any of the other guys, right? If you got that center sitting there and then you got a 3 tech that's in the same tier, right, of talent, I can justify and understand taking the 3 tech.
I was going to say, because I hate to use the word easy, but I think it would be less difficult to find a center than it is to find a decent 3 tech, right? And you've got to take those chances and take those swings. And if Miller's a dog, like our boy is telling us, then maybe you make that decision, right?
Tim, he is, dude. Do that today, man. When we get done here, just pop on YouTube, find a highlight reel. It don't have to be box cam, all 22 or anything. Just find a highlight reel and enjoy the show. Kristen Miller's he's a dog, dude. He is a dog. You remember last year, my guy was Walter Nolan, right? And he got hurt. He played like 170 snaps, but he graded out as the highest defensive tackle of all the rookie, defense, not just 3 techs, but defensive tackles in general. He was dominant when he was on the field. He really played well. Kristen Miller kind of feels like that guy this year.
Nice. And we love our Georgia Bulldogs up here at 1265, right? We're no stranger to them Bulldogs.
That's a fact. Chris Ian says Wyatt already getting older too. It's a great point, Chris. That was one of the things. I think they drafted him. He's 24 years old, Tim, when they drafted Devontae Wyatt. So you're going to look up in 2 or 3 years.
Injury issues too,
Yeah, right. So the injury bug kind of hit a little earlier than you would have wanted for sure. Let's see. Let's go. Just a couple more comments. We got to get out of here. Kyle Camp. I'm just going to say that. All right. Kyle Camp says, I don't know how we fix O-line, D-line, and cornerback all in one off season. It's going to be difficult. I'll tell you how you can do it. It's a good start. Mike Z says it. Linderbaum's a must, please, Lord. So, and there's going to be people that say you don't have the cap space. It's BS. You can free up that cap space like that.
Yep.
Again, man, if you just cut Elton Jenkins outright, you've got enough cap space freed up with that one move to justify signing Tyler Linderbaum. Again, if it does land at $17 million per, which is the market value showing, if that is the case, your first year cap hit, you could reasonably have that somewhere around 10 or 12 million, and you can make that happen very, very easily. So you get Linderbaum, going back to the original one there, that it's hard to get all that done in one swoop, right?
Yeah.
If you get Linderbaum, put a half check by offensive line, right? And then if a 3 tech does fall to you in the second round, you go get your 3 tech, a defensive line. There's 2 checks, right? And then maybe you grab a cornerback in the 3rd or 4th round. That's the other thing. Maybe go get a cornerback in free agency too. You don't have to break the bank, Yep. Go get just a solid starting cornerback. I think you could do it, Kyle. I do, but I'm with you. I feel really comfortable and confident. If Goody sees it as much of a need as we do, we know that's a topic for a different day, right? But I think
we've seen Goody fix the safety room in one offseason, right?
That's very true.
It's been done before. So, but trying to fix multiple groups, that's kind of an uphill battle, right?
I feel confident and comfortable saying you could fix 2 out of the 3.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's go one last one here. William Jenkins says Kristen Miller with our first pick, then Logan Jones in the 3rd. If Kristen Miller's sitting there when we pick in the 50s, run.
That's an automatic, probably, right?
And then you get Logan Jones out of Iowa in the 3rd, and that might be potentially your center of the future. Boy, I like that. I like that approach for sure. But again, there might be a stud corner out there when you pick.
Deadfish coming in hot too. Don't forget Trayvon Diggs. We could get him on a friendlier deal, and you've got some veteran presence there at corner. If we can get the contract numbers together.
Imagine Trayvon Diggs on one side, right? And imagine a rookie corner with the 2nd round pick on the other, right? You could I don't want to say completely fix, but you're in a lot better standing at the cornerback position if you approach it that way.
I agree. And I'm not ready to bail on our 7th rounder from Kentucky either. I think CV.
I'm not either.
Stick around.
Now the other one, number 25, I'm done. I can't take it anymore, man. And this guy was defending him at the first of the year. I thought he played decent in the first 5 or 6 weeks.
I've been defending him for 2 years plus. So I feel your pain.
Yeah, it's over, man. And I agree with what Soder says. Losing Michael Robinson was a huge setback, man. You had him right there in the house. We were crazy about him. We wanted him to make the roster. We were during training camp, we were over the moon about him. So thank you so much, Bates, coming in with the important information. I didn't find any wrestling background for Jake Slaughter. Thank you so much for that, Bates. I'll continue to look as well. Maybe he doesn't have one. It doesn't mean you wouldn't take him. But boy, oh boy, there's something about those former wrestlers at offensive line that they seem to go on to have really, really good careers. Especially on the interior of the offensive line.
Got to be able to put the hands and the feet together, right?
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's it. We're out here. If y'all would do me a very, very big favor, spin those laces for us. Hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams. We may be back later this afternoon if news breaks. I'll try to give you guys a heads up in the Patreon group if we decide to go live. But we greatly appreciate everybody jumping in here. Tim, appreciate you taking the time to hang out, talk a little ball, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Love it.
All right, guys. We will see you on the flippity flip. All right. Appreciate everybody. Have a great day. Stay warm out there. That's Tim. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack Go.
There we go.
Nice.
Bye, guys.